Today's guest on Rock and Blues Review is quoted as saying, "Music, dance, theater, and art were literally how I shaped my vision." And if you've ever seen her in a live performance, you know she somehow manages to capture all of them in each performance. An extraordinary violinist, singer, and a darn nice person. Welcome, Ann Harris.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Bob. I'm honored to be having this conversation with you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to talking with you again. It's been a while. You were in Thorold at the Belvedere about almost 2 years ago now with JP Soares.
Yeah. Yeah, JP is amazing, and we just released the first single off of our forthcoming Gypsy Blue Reviews record, which we're so excited about to finally record together. So, yeah, JP's one of my favorite people on the planet. Great person,
Yeah, you,
amazing artist.
yeah, the four of you together, it's just an incredible band. Um, I'm always amazed at such great talent as you guys together kind of still fly under the radar. How do you account for this excitement and talent not translating into mainstream success?
Hmm. Well, success is really for me, I don't measure it by um, a barometer that is tied to a system that I really don't work within. I guess the system that you're referring to, I mean, success can be defined in many ways. And so you're wondering why are not being famous and rich and
I,
all over everyone's social media. That's one narrow, but broadly accepted by many forms of success. I think for me personally, as an artist, uh, I've always defined success as the ability to work and create with people that I admire greatly for people that are appreciative of that work in a sustainable way. Um, and sustainable for me, it means being able to eke out my basic necessities. And I feel I'm wildly successful because every single person that I work with, I am so enamored of their work, and my desire is to uplift their work and to be a part of it and to create things. And I work with incredible artists, and I know incredible people. I have stories that a lot of people not necessarily in this business would be like, you did what? You were where? That's amazing. I mean, there's things that I guess I'm saying money can't buy. And I feel like at this time in of great transition, planetary transition, uh, we are transiting out of systems that are not sustainable. And I feel like the form of capitalism that has been embraced by the world is not a sustainable form. Um, and the measures by which people are deemed successful uh, don't always equate to me with them being amazing people or people of moral values that I equate with being sustainable in terms of supporting and contributing to communities. So you've opened a really giant can of worms by saying, "Why aren't you successful?" Because I just want to finish by saying I feel so honored and so blessed to be able to create art with people I love and admire for people that I love and admire. And it feels like a job that kind of doesn't have a price tag on it. Although, art and artists, the makers of culture and art, um, we're rewarded in myriad ways, and it's a very slim percentage of people that are wildly successful, and many of those that are maybe aren't artistically as aligned in a way that I think is deserving of such rewards. If that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I don't think I said you weren't successful. What I said was, and let me explain, when people see you, and I think if you remember when I mentioned when we had you in Thorold with JP Soares, I mentioned that we were so thrilled to have you at Club Belvedere, but you deserve to be in the Performing Arts Center down the street because the talent, the show, the talent is just so amazing. It's just surprising that you're not playing these bigger venues. And yes, great for us. Great for us. And if you're happy, then everybody's happy, I guess. But so let's talk about the Toronto show then. So this is with Halo Rider, and it's April 11th, and it's for the Toronto Blues Society, and it's with Jack DeKaiser and Paul Reddick. So that's different. So tell us about Halo Rider.
Again, as I mentioned before, I have to pinch myself sometimes when I look at the people that I'm so fortunate to play with, and Marcus James, and I have been collaborating together now for several years. He's an artist that I was a big fan of long before I met him, with his own music and his own particular bent and angle on blues music. And it kind of through a chance, being at the right place in the right time, we met and we started collaborating together, and we created this project, this band. And another wonderful musician, Larry Thompson, who I worked with, he's an incredible drummer. He and I toured together for 10 years with Otis Taylor. So he's one of the best drummers out there, and was certainly another unsung hero, I feel like, of all people that should be on bigger stages. Larry can command a stadium or the smallest, most intimate club. He's such a versatile, incredible drummer. So we knew we wanted this to be a trio driven by a drummer of that depth. And the three of us have been touring as Halo Rider now for several years. And it's it's just a really special and a really unique sound that we've created. Marcus is an incredible writer, and our vision was to really sort of expand and connect um, older acoustic style blues with futuristic electric blues, with rock, with folk. So it sounds like, you know, a bit of all of those things. It touches all of those bases. Marcus is a just a riveting performer. He's got an incredible voice, and his sound, his tone. He's a great guitar player, and I get to weave my textures of sound with his, and it's an electrifying experience as a musician, and it's been very well received. So we cannot wait to get to you, Bob. We can't wait to play. And I'm excited for you to see this project. This is a pretty exciting band.
Yeah, I've been watching all your YouTube stuff. It looks fantastic.
It-
And Marcus, he's described as rock with a West African twist, and right away I thought that that would fit you.
yeah,
Uh,
it
and
really
I don't even
does.
know how. How
Yeah.
does it fit you?
But that's how I felt when I first was, listening to his records. I mean, I started, gosh, I'm trying to think when I was first introduced to Marcus as a just as a fan. It was on Public Radio Chicago in the early 2000s, I believe, and there was a program that would run every Saturday night for 2 hours that would introduce people to global music and to new sounds. And his record that was out at the time, um, oh gosh, my I'm totally having a senior moment. Can't remember the name of that. Oh, Nightbird. Uh, I heard a song from his record Nightbird, and that Marcus Astoria, as you've probably read, he's been to Africa, to Mali specifically, 11 or 12 times. Through those travels, he collaborated with local musicians there and would bring back these kind of field recordings and build songs from them. And that's how his association with African music began. As he was in love with the sound and mm, became very dear friends with some incredible musicians over there. He even made a documentary film about his travels over there. I don't know if you've seen that film, but
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Right.
So I think I've always been a person that loves mixing unlikely sounds together. I love things that are outside of strict definition and boundaried boxes. I love collaboration in that way as a listener, and not just in music, in all forms of art. I love when two kind of different things come together and make this new thing. And I feel like that's very much what he was doing with those records. And it's kind of what he does as an artist. He hears, as I do, how different things can come together. How, a show is not going to just be one thing for us. It's going to be sonically journeying into different places and somehow making that all work. So yeah, I think we're definitely compatible as artists.
Yeah, I see your bio says that you studied African American fiddle tradition, and that seems to fit in with what he's doing. So that begs another question, though. How did your formal education jive with your personal views of music?
Yeah. That's a great question. I love all your questions so far. You're such a thoughtful interviewer. Um, for me, I studied classically. That's how I was trained. I had a private teacher, Mary Schumacher, for 10 years when I was growing up. I started begging my parents for violin lessons when I was around 3, but it wasn't till I got close to 8 that I actually had my own instructor, my own, violin private lessons, and I continued that study of classical music for 10 years. And I think um, that was my introduction to the instrument. And through that, I learned technique and music theory and how, I played in school orchestras and played in small ensembles, and all, learning is learning is learning. I was at the same time listening to all kinds of very different music that was outside of classical repertoire, with folk and funk, rock, um, country, uh, Broadway musicals, uh, soul, R&B. I was listening to all kinds of stuff. And I think, as any artist would tell you, the combination of having the technique for me was, it gave me a certain ability to figure out, okay, how do you make noises on this thing? And then the ears, being exposed to lots of different kinds of music, gave me the impulse and inspiration to find a way to, like, how do I connect those dots, the stuff I'm listening to that's really exciting, to this instrument that's a whole different kind of repertoire. And I really didn't start doing that till I moved to Chicago, till I graduated from college, and started playing in bands, and started, going out hearing live music. And of course, the Chicago blues tradition is something that permeates everything in the city. It's like it's baked into the sidewalks, into the buildings, the history. And it's learning begets learning. Learning is a dangerous thing because it's a viral disease where you don't learn and stop. it's if you're, fortunate, you live your life learning and being excited and following different paths. So,
Yeah, no question about it. And I think obviously you're doing that. And let's talk about then the physical aspect of your performance because that's a big part of what you do. You're very dance oriented, and
yeah.
how do you keep that going? And how do you stay in shape to
That's
do this all the
another good
time?
question. Yeah. It's so funny. I think it's one of the reasons why I always knew classical music was not going to be my my focus as an artist. Because one of the comments that my teacher made repeatedly
Hmm.
was, "Anne, you have to stand still. You have to stand still and play. You don't move, and it was like, but I'm feeling this piece so much. And I also, as a little kid, would pour through ballet magazines and books, and I loved dance, and I studied dance for many years. And I was also an athlete. I think I've just always been very tied to my body. I'm very, very physically connected to the vessel. And my expression of music comes through me. It's something that I don't think about or plan. It's just part of how I express the way that what I'm playing makes me feel. Uh, and and I think if I thought about how ridiculous I look most of the time,
Oh,
I, I would stand still and be afraid to do anything. But yeah, so it's a very natural, organic part of my expression, and I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself. I fully embrace the fool of myself and in myself.
well, I don't think that's the case. Anybody who's seen you appreciates that genuine immersion in the music that you managed to get. And I think JP does it too. And so those audiences that you talked about earlier definitely come along with that. They get right into it. They appreciate how much you're tied to what you're doing and how much you are immersed in it.
That's beautiful to hear. That's the greatest gift I could hope for, really. I feel like when we, especially now, people really, to immerse in art is to find a little safe corner. I love going to see people perform. I love going to see live music, and part of what I love about it is the trip. The way you can get transported um, through not just the music, but the way the people that are making it are expressing it. It's so. Thank you for saying that. That's a
Oh, it-
wonderful thing to hear.
yeah, and that's part of what I talked about earlier about that connection. It's real, and people certainly appreciate it. And you've gotten kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Ethereal view on a tie between the universe, energy, music, and quantum physics. But that's also Taoism. So it's it's
Yeah,
it's just the connectedness of all things.
absolutely. I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, we can put little labels to encapsulate the things that we're striving to understand and be present with, but at the end of the day, it's just the embodiment of those defining feelings of being connected with something greater than ourselves, and having the trust that our journey here on this planet, in this slice of time, is for some sort of purpose way beyond our wildest imagining, and that every single person is is a part of that journey in the embodiment of their own personal lives.
All right. Now we talked about some of your collaborations a bit earlier, but you just come off a tour with two of the giants, Taj Mahal and Keb Mo. Tell us
Yes,
about that. Those guys are amazing.
I couldn't. I you know, gosh, it was to say it was the greatest honor. Uh, and such a humbling experience is just barely touching the tip of the iceberg because in spending all that time on the road and on stages and in rehearsals with two of the greatest performers, musicians around, uh legendary people, it was life changing, honestly. uh I had never been, I mean, to be with two people of that stature, and to it was like being in getting my PhD or something. I felt like I was studying from masters. Not just, and music was just part of it. They're incredible humans. The way rehearsals were run, the respect for every musician there, and the desire for, and the band is phenomenal too. So it's seeing great people know how to pull together their vision by surrounding themselves with people that are invested in this bigger thing. We all wanted to support the music, to tell the stories, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Taj Mahal is, I feel, a griot. I feel Kemo is too, but griot, as you probably know and your listeners know, is um, an African storyteller that is charged with carrying the stories of generations past and educating future generations. And they're often, people often seek advice from griots. He, at his age, holds more wisdom and knowledge than maybe anyone I've met. He carries his stories. You can and he's a consummate. I was lucky enough to be on his tour bus. So we would play these great shows where he's just like out there, in his at his age, um, putting his whole heart and soul and bringing everyone into the palm of his hands. And everyone has stories of Taj from way back when that, people would come up to me and go, oh, I've got this record of his from 1970, changed my life. He would put on these shows, and then we'd be on the bus afterwards, and we'd all be gathered around in the group area of the bus, and he would DJ and play songs for us, from his career and from other things he'd picked up around the world, and tell us the history of, like, oh well, Spain at this time, well, when it was occupied by I mean, not he's an historian, and absolutely an incredible musician, so knowledgeable, and Kebmo, just another giant. I was not aware, at the beginning of the tour, of how those two are specifically connected. And when I learned that story, it was just like being, bowled over. Um, Kevin's presence on stage, his consummate professionality. I really don't have enough accolades for that experience. And I there's a rumor that it's going to happen again in the fall. So if your radar is up and you happen to be in a place where tickets might be announced for another Taj Mahal tour that in 2026, maybe in the fall, um, run, don't walk, to for the opportunity to see these two people on stage together, backed by a really wonderful group of musicians.
Yeah, only if they call it Taj Mohair. I have seen them all, and you're right. They do exude such charisma on the stage.
Oh
And
yeah,
but I should point out that you also received tremendous accolades on that tour and great praise. So good for
thank
you.
you. Well, good, again, the honor of serving their music, was, I just put my whole heart into it, as did every single musician on that stage, and even, every single production person. It's like the whole bubble of that enterprise was a labor of love, and I'm proud to have had that experience.
Yeah. And yeah, let's hope it does happen again. That was one of my questions, if you thought it might, and that would be great.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm from what I'm understanding, we're going to be out again, and the tour is going to be in September. It's primarily the west coast of the US. I don't know that we're getting to Canada this time around, unfortunately, but
Who do you want me to call?
please call someone,
Yeah,
make it happen.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God. I would love to bring this show there.
Well, we would certainly love to have it. Uh, I just want to touch on another one. You've got other tour shows. You've got a couple shows coming up with Hannah Marie,
Yes.
and she's roots violin, banjo, ancient music, and she's also got a tie to the American Native Center where you're going.
Yeah.
How do you fit into that corner of the world?
Um, when I started diving deeper into Black fiddle music, and the history of Black string band music and the connections of American Blacks to the banjo and the fiddle, it landed me on a path that sort of predates the blues. Black string band music was the music that what we currently know as blues music emerged from. And enslaved people in the South were playing fiddles and banjos. Of course, the banjo, the original banjo came from Africa, that gourded stringed instrument developed into what currently is known as the banjo. And knowing that those stories and the history of the instruments and the players and the music has been largely kept from many people, made groups like the Carolina Chocolate Drops true pioneers in spreading the music and and the history that had been really only, kept verbally, not written for a very long time. I started I think the Carolina Chocolate Drops were really my gateway into learning more about the history of the instrument. And so that sent me down the path of like playing and finding players that are also grounded in learning the history and knowing the history. And Hannah is an amazing individual. Her Black Banjo project does outreach all over the United States, trying to educate people about the origins of the banjo and really create spaces where Black, Brown, Indigenous people can reclaim their roots. And she will have banjo making workshops and get people that have never played a banjo to put together a two-string gourd banjo, early banjo, and learn to play a song with no experience in the process of a couple of days. It's an amazing thing that she does. So I became aware of her work online several years back. We became connected. And when she'd come through Chicago, we'd get together, have a little bite to eat and chat. We've just wanted to collaborate for a while. And the opportunity came about in these upcoming shows that you just referenced. So yeah, Hannah's she's amazing. The work she's doing is incredible. She's getting ready to release a record that I think you will love, Bob. I think you will need to put your ears on it when it's released later this year. I don't have a release date on it, but I know it'll be by the summer,
Okay.
this coming summer.
Oh, we'll keep an eye
So
out.
yeah, so the music that we're going to be doing together will highlight old folk tunes. In fact, there is a tune that Taj Mahal uh, performed on one of his early records that's going to be in our repertoire as well. So it's going to be fiddle and banjo music, definitely tied to tradition, but then in a very obvious way, moving it forward into the future.
Well, I see you've got, besides the potential Taj tour. You've got two more shows with Halo Rider. You've got seven shows with JP and the Gypsy Blues Review, and seven with Cracker. Besides those two, so you are going to be so busy. When are you ever home?
I'm not home much. I'm, and that's it's always everything is always a balance when you're a touring artist. Trying to balance because I have a family. My husband and daughter are incredible people, and when I'm not home, they somehow manage without me. They're incredible. It takes a village certainly to support a traveling circus artist like myself. And that's the balance. But I think for me, I love both things. I love touring. I love traveling. I love the work I do. I feel like um, I have a mission with my instrument. Not just to. I feel like I have a calling, um, and I don't take that for granted. I feel there's a responsibility for me to to follow that calling, to bring my music, to bring the instrument to as many people as I can. Um, and then the other part of my calling is to be a cool mom and wife. And I love that too. That grounds me to that gives me the roots so that I can grow my branches, if that makes sense.
Sure. And you've given so much to these other guys that we've talked about and women that you've teamed up with and performed with, and you add such a great dimension to their shows. What about flipping that a little bit? An Ann Harris album with some of those people as your guest.
Oh, I love that. Do you want to produce it?
Yeah, I think you'd be sorry. I know people who could though.
I would love that. I all along have been creating my own music, which is kind of outside of all the other stuff I
Right.
do. And I feel, I used to feel conflicted about like, oh, I'm just too scattered. I do too much stuff,
Mm.
like you can't really pigeonhole me completely because I'm all over the place. But the older I get, the more I've come to just embrace that's okay. I like having a space where something is, completely different from something else because even though they're on the surface different, they're connected through me. Um, and I released a singer-songwriter record last year uh, that I I recorded in Nashville with Colin Linden, who's a wonderful producer, guitar player. Do you know Colin?
You know what? I, I I was going to mention him, but his name didn't come up when I was researching you. But he was my guest last week.
Oh my gosh, you did.
I do know Colin, and we're going to see him tonight, actually.
Okay, fantastic. If you get a chance to talk to him, just tell him Ann Harris says to give him a big hug, tell him hello. He produced my most recent Ann Harris record called I Feel It Once Again.
I got to
He's
go.
just
I have to go back and read the credits in because I have it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my fault. That's on me.
No worries. Colin is incredible. I just he's one of those I don't need to sell you on the virtues of Colin Linden, but talk about unsung heroes.
Right.
Someone who truly has played with the greatest, the most legendary, defining people of popular music. Dylan and Emmylou Harris and folks like that, and produced Grammy-winning record for Keb and he's just the nicest guy, and he's such a badass. He's so good. And I really treasure the opportunity to work with him. I recorded the record at his home studio in Nashville, which is just beautiful. And he just has an accessibility, a musical accessibility that is unparalleled. It's why he's so wonderful and slides under the radar as
Right.
this silent genius sideman that everyone would want to have because he makes everything better. He just does. Just by being in the room, he elevates everything.
Yeah. He's fantastic. And I've known him for a long, long time, and I was happy to get him. So Is there somebody else you'd like to hook up with soon? You haven't yet?
I would love to hook up with Allison Russell, um, because I've seen her many times live, and I love, adore her work and everything she's doing. I would love to hook up with Rita and Giddens. I think having more women connect with each other musically is a powerful healing force in this day and age. Um, those are two people that are like on my dream list of people I would love to work with
I
for
would like
sure.
I would like to see you with Vanessa Collier for a show.
Oh my God, I'm such a fan of Vanessa's. She is just, she's a talent, such a beautiful person too. I
Well,
love her in every way.
I'm telling you, I'm getting lucky because I'm getting to talk to a lot of you guys who are all beautiful people. I mean, Colin was so humble and
Mm.
just and everybody else I've talked to has been like that. It's just amazing. Maybe I zone in, I don't know, but I've been lucky too to talk to them. Um, so we're
We're
almost,
lucky to talk to you, Bob.
what's that?
We're lucky to talk to
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah.
When
Uh,
you reached out and said you wanted to have a conversation, I was really so elated. So thank you again.
well, thank you for doing this. We are almost out of time. So I just want to mention your show again in April 11th in Toronto, Toronto
Yeah,
Blues Society, so people up here can check that out. Tickets are available online, and it's free to members, and the membership is reasonable, so it's a good thing to do.
yeah.
So I'll just say thanks again. Thanks for doing this, and hope to see you in Toronto.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the work that you're doing and for asking me to be a part of this conversation. I'm truly honored and grateful.
All the best to you, and yeah, everything looks so fantastic. You got so much going on. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. I'll see you down the road, Bob.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.